So, today we're diving into a really high-stakes legal battle. On one side, you have a single homeowner, Jeremy Bass, and on the other, a massive, sophisticated corporate machine. Now, this isn't just your typical foreclosure story. Oh no. This is a deep dive into what some are calling the foreclosure machine, a very specific, systematic playbook that's designed to turn questionable property seizures into rock-solid, unquestionable ownership. Let's break down exactly how it works.
You know this little exchange from a recorded phone call? It just perfectly captures the heart of this whole conflict. The corporate attorney probably thought, a little intimidation would do the trick. But instead, what he got was enthusiastic resistance. This was the very first clue that the standard corporate playbook had just run headfirst into a totally unexpected adversary, someone who wasn't just ready for a legal fight, but had been meticulously preparing for it.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to start with the corporate strategy, then we'll look at the homeowner's absolutely brilliant response, and from there, we'll explore the current standoff and what it means for the entire legal system. It's a big one.
Okay, first things first, we have to understand the opponent. And this isn't just a single company we're talking about. It's what investigators call the foreclosure machine. Think of it like an industrial-scale system. You've got servicers, trustees, shell companies, and law firms all working in concert. Now, each individual step might look legitimate on its own, but when you zoom out, you see the whole process is engineered to sidestep any real judicial review of the foreclosure itself.
So, this machine runs on a 5-stage strategy, often called the Quiet Title Playbook. It all starts with creating chaos in the mortgage paperwork. Then it moves to a super-fast auction to prevent any real defense. After that, immediate seizure of the property. Step 4 is to eliminate any legal anchors, like tenants, that connect the property to its old owner. And finally, the end game. Make any legal appeal completely pointless, or moot, before a higher court can even get its hands on the case.
And in Jeremy Bass's case, this playbook was followed to a T. The auction on his home went forward, even though he had documented proof of his efforts to pay off the mortgage. He even alleged that the bidding was pre-coordinated. And get this, he noted that the buyer's representative had pre-printed checks for the exact final bid amount. I mean, that's a pretty strong suggestion that the outcome was decided before the auction even started.
So, this naturally raises a huge question. Was the suspicious auction at Bass's home just a weird one-off event? Or was it part of something much, much bigger, a more disturbing pattern of behavior?
Take a look at this number. Just let it sink in for a second. 1 in over 244 million. What on earth could possibly have odds this long? Well, that is the statistical probability of the very same two companies, the ones who bought Bass's house, winning 12 straight foreclosure auctions in Utah. But wait, here's the kicker. The trustee running those auctions was Halliday Watkins and Mann, the exact same law firm that's now representing them against Bass in Idaho. A probability that low isn't just unlikely, it's a virtual impossibility. It strongly points to systematic auction manipulation. The whole foreclosure machine playbook relies on one simple thing, the homeowner being overwhelmed and just giving up. But with Jeremy Bass, they made a fatal miscalculation. They weren't dealing with the typical homeowner. They were about to face a highly prepared per force pro se litigant. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly does per force pro se mean? Well, it means you're representing yourself in court, not because you want to, but because you literally have no other choice. In Bass's situation, conflicts of interest among local law firms meant he couldn't find anyone to take his case. He had no option but to become his own legal champion. And here's the crucial part. While the corporations were expecting a quick and easy victory, Bass had been spending months digging into their tactics, gathering evidence, and preparing for this exact fight. He wasn't just playing defense. He was ready to go on the offensive. So what does Bass do? He launches this absolutely brilliant counter-strategy. You could call it a form of asymmetric legal warfare. See, he knew he couldn't match their bottomless financial resources, so instead, he used these meticulously crafted legal instruments to completely neutralize their procedural advantages.
His defense was like a 1-2 punch, built on 2 interlocking agreements. First, there was a residential lease he signed with a tenant, Dwayne Pike, literally the day before the auction. That locked down the occupancy rights. Second, a custodial agreement that protected all of his personal property left in the home. This basically created a legal tripwire against any attempt to just seize his stuff.
But the real genius is in the nitty-gritty details of the lease itself.
It had a 2-year term that the new owners were legally obligated to honor. It required them to pay all the utilities. But the absolute masterstroke was the termination clause. Get this. Only Jeremy L. Bass personally could waive the early termination penalty. So the new owners bought a property, but they were stuck with a lease they couldn't control, creating what one analyst called a financial hemorrhage they couldn't stop.
Okay, so that brings us right up to today, to this incredible standoff. Bass has been physically removed from the property, so the corporation's entire strategy now hinges on getting rid of one person, the tenant, Dwayne Pike. He is the last witness. He's the final legal anchor connecting that property to its pre-foreclosure life. This timeline of buyout offers tells you everything you need to know. It just screams desperation. Back in September 2024, they offered Pike $700 to leave. Fast forward to March 2025, after they'd won in court and supposedly had all the leverage, that offer jumps sevenfold to $5,000. So why on earth would you offer so much more money when your legal position is supposed to be stronger than ever?
Let's just do the math here, because this is wild. The offer makes absolutely no economic sense for the company. Over the entire rest of the lease, they stood to make a net profit of $4,000. And yet, they're offering Pike $5,000 to leave. That's $1,000 more than they could possibly earn from him. It is a completely irrational financial decision.
So, if it's not about the money, what's it about? Well, there's really only one logical conclusion. Their motive isn't profit. It's an urgent, strategic need to get that last witness out of there. By removing Pike, they can argue the whole case is moot and try to wash the title, which is a process to clear it of all legal claims, so they can quickly flip the property to some unsuspecting buyer.
And this entire corporate strategy, it all comes down to this one single legal concept that's now in front of the Idaho Supreme Court: mootness. The central question is, can you render a case pointless just by manipulating events on the ground?
This tactic even has a name: manufactured mootness. It's a fancy term, but what it means is pretty simple. It's the deliberate creation of a new reality, like an empty house, to argue that a legal appeal no longer matters, even if the original foreclosure was completely fraudulent. It is a very sophisticated way to weaponize court procedure to deny justice.
But Bass is fighting back, and he's using some really strong legal precedent to do it. He's arguing that his huge financial stake in the home's equity, plus the fact that this type of corporate behavior is specifically designed to evade review, means his case is very, very much alive. He's basically asking the court to look past the procedure and see the real substance of what's happening here.
And this is where we zoom out, because this case matters so much more than just one house in Idaho. What we're witnessing isn't an isolated incident. It's the execution of a national playbook that has profound implications for the rights of homeowners everywhere.
The impact of this playbook is just staggering. It lets corporations systematically dodge judicial review. It creates these legal dead zones where people's rights just can't be enforced. And it sets up a pipeline for laundering these questionable property titles. It's a strategy that honestly threatens the very foundation of property law. So this entire case ultimately leaves us with a fundamental, massive question for our legal system. When procedural rules are weaponized to create a reality on the ground just to stop a court from ruling on the merits, what is the court's duty? Is it to just follow the procedure to its technical, logical conclusion? Or is it to intervene to preserve the very possibility of substantive justice? The answer to that question is going to define homeowner rights for years to come.